We're going to bring on Mr. Josh Hill for our weekly segment, A Song of Dan and Josh, the show where Josh Hill and I, editor Josh Hill,
Indeed,
go through a chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire and pick it apart, analyze it. What makes this chapter tick? Although, Josh, I'm so depressed right now that Kayla's leaving. I don't know if I can really handle this. So you just do it yourself.
That's a tough act to follow. Although I did like how you shepherded her off. She was having a moment with you, and you're like, we're just repeating ourselves. What's done is done.
We were. I'm sad, but I don't want to be repetitive.
It's true. That's one thing I've learned about Dan.
That's just
He's not repetitive.
Exactly. And we poured you some wine. How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing very good. Although I feel like you're doing better now that you're back from Con of Thrones.
I loved Con of Thrones.
Yeah.
It was a blast. It really was.
So I remember you were really nervous when we were here last week. You weren't sure how it was going to go. We only read one chapter because you were so nervous. So it affected me.
It wasn't because I'm nervous. It was just because I had so much work to do. I didn't have time to read two and make notes on two.
Yeah, you were a superstar, though. So that's what I hear.
I was very nervous, because I'm like a kind of an introverted guy. So just the idea of talking in front of people was a little nerve-wracking. Yeah. But it worked out. Yeah. I couldn't shut up. All right. So today we read Eddard XIII.
Indeed.
Another key Eddard chapter. They're kind of all key Eddard chapters at this point.
Yeah.
Another, every other chapter is a Ned chapter now. Mm-hmm. It just kind of drives home how, the cliche is that he is the main character of the first book. There's no other way to put it. Yeah. He dwarfs everyone else in terms of page count, which, again, is another reason why it's so shocking when he dies. So just kudos to Martin again. Julie says, the sadness is overwhelming. Which, yes.
It is.
It is, but we will soldier on. I'll start by sipping this. Cheers, Josh.
Cheers. There we go.
Josh. Tequila. I'm out, but I'll live. Okay. So, what basically happened in this chapter? What stood out to you?
Well, first of all, hello, everyone, because I forgot to say hello.
It's been an emotional day.
It's been a rough day. Well, this is the chapter where Robert dies.
It is. So Robert dies.
Very unceremoniously, too. It was.
Yeah.
I liked how that was done. It was just everybody accepted his fate. There wasn't any kind of dancing around. There wasn't any, dramatic, no, not Robert. It was just kind of even he was like, all right, time to drop my will. I feel like he
more than anyone.
Yeah, he was just like, let's get this done with. So, but ultimately, again, it's Ned's chapter. And all of these things that happen to Ned, he always thinks he's doing the right thing. He's always the guy making the right call. So he wants Stannis to be on the throne, because he basically gets to pick who wants to be on the throne here.
Because, technically, Stannis is Robert's younger brother.
Yeah.
And because Robert's children are not actually his children, in terms of, you look at it from a pure primogeniture era, secession timeline thing. Stannis, as the next oldest brother, you don't have any kids, is technically the next in line.
Yeah.
It's by the letter of the law, that's the case.
And again, Ned doing the right thing by the book, it ends up being literally the thing that kills him. So this whole decision snowballs downhill because he wants to do the right thing, and it sets off. He's got to jump through all these hoops. The game has become too hard for him to play, and he's made the wrong moves. So
it is. But okay, so what I'd like to do today is let's walk through Ned's decisions here. So he makes a bunch of decisions in this chapter.
He does.
And I want you to tell me if you think they're bad on their face or only bad in retrospect. Let's see if we can puzzle that out.
Let's do it.
So the first kind of decision he makes is when he's called into Robert's deathbed, and he's dying, and there's Cersei's there, and Renly's there, and Pycelle's there, and they're all kind of crowded around the dying king. And Robert shoos all of them out and just says, "Here's my will. I'm going to dictate to you. Write it down." And the first kind of the first big move Ned makes is, I'll just read it. Robert says, "My will is this, and the kingdom shall go to my son Joffrey." And then, but Ned, being tricksy, writes, so Ned bent his head and wrote, but where the kings had said, "My son Joffrey," he scrawled, "My heir," instead. So making it ambiguous. No longer Joffrey, it's my heir. And of course, according to him, since Joffrey isn't his heir, because he's not an actual child, Stannis is his heir. So in a way, yes, we know now this decision leads to war because there's ambiguity now.
Yeah.
There's who is the heir is not specific. You know what you have there? You have a secession crisis. You have a war of secession. You have multiple people saying, well, I'm the heir, I'm the heir, I'm the heir. And then there's freaking war because they're all fighting over who gets to be the heir and who gets to sit the Iron Throne. But in that moment, Ned, knowing that Joffrey isn't legitimate and is a bit of a jagwagon,
Yep.
can you blame him for making that move? Was that a bad decision?
Jagwagon, good word.
It's not really a word I don't even think, but
No, I can't. Again, it's Ned thinking he's doing the right thing, playing
is he
by
doing
the
the
book.
right thing?
I don't. Ultimately, he's not doing the right thing. He should have just put down what Robert wanted. He should have put down my son. Problem
Why?
over. Well, to me, I'm looking at this from the decision that he made and the fallout that happened in that this led to his downfall, led to all of these problems happening. Joffrey, as we know, ends up taking the throne anyways.
He does.
So really, everything Ned did was for nothing. Like, he's jumped through all these hoops. He's trying to do the right thing, trying to make sure that the heir gets the throne, not specifically Joffrey, but in the eyes of whoever the heir is, Joffrey ends up getting the throne. So
He does. He is an heir.
It was really kind of everything these Ned chapters have been, which is he thinks he's doing the right thing. It leads to this huge, long runaround, and ultimately we end at where we were going anyways. Joffrey is going to be the king. Joffrey's going to sit on the throne. Ned doesn't put down Joffrey, doesn't put down my son. We do this huge runaround. We do all these things. Joffrey ends up sitting on the throne. And that's kind of the same thing with this whole Jon Arryn thing, running around, trying to find out what's going on, still land in the same spot. So it was almost
no one still knows.
It almost had to happen because it would have been out of character for Ned to have not done it this way and for it not to have played out this way, which is why he's kind of a tragic hero in that way.
I agree. And by the way, Julie says, typical Ned, try to do what he hoped was the right thing, A, for effort. And Juliana, love is his weakness. If Ned had told Robert on his deathbed about Joffrey, there wouldn't have been doubt about Joffrey's claim. Well, that was a good bit because Ned, couldn't bring himself. He wanted to tell Robert about Joffrey, but, Robert's sitting there dying, and oh my God, there was that one bit where, I wrote it down, but I didn't erase it, where Robert said, I was a horrible king, but this thing, they'll at least say I did this right. And it's like, your son's not even your son. You're doing
You did it all
horribly
wrong.
But
And again,
you can't say it.
But that's Ned
rude.
doing the Ned thing. Like, the right thing to do in that moment was to say, here's the truth. Like, I'm sorry, this is the last thing that you're going to know.
Is that the right thing to tell a dying
I think it
man?
was. I think it was because
hey, your life is a lie. By the way, peace out.
I feel like that then sets off a chain reaction in a different direction because then it puts it out there. It's not just, Ned scribbling something on a piece of paper and he knows, and good for him that he knows, but nobody else does. But if he goes to Robert and is like, it's not your kid. Like, come on. Sorry, it's the last thing that you're hearing before you die, but facts are facts. This is what's happening. Then you get that out there, cat's out of the bag, and maybe we have a different series of events. But
well, there you have people. Josh Hill is heartless and will just tell a dying man that his life has been a lie, and then he
we've
dies.
established too that Robert wasn't necessarily a saint.
No,
so
but he's trying here.
that.
He's trying to do the right thing.
On
For
his
the first time in
deathbed,
his
though,
life.
that's such a cop-out.
And he's still failing.
It's such a
totally is a
cop-out.
cop-out. But you got to start sometime.
it's like in my last moments of life, I'm going to repent for all the horrible, terrible, wife-beating, slave-inducing things that I've done.
Hey, that is a classic strategy.
But it's like, don't tell him that his kid's not his kid, Your wife, not only that, but he could have really buried him. Could have been like, not only is your kid not your kid, but your wife was banging her brother, and that's who the kid's father is. Have fun in the next life, man. It's been real.
So you're like, in your head, Ned's very bitter.
Ned just
and
turns heel. He just goes.
turn the screw.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Maybe something different happens. But because he's such a nice guy and because he plays it the way that as Julie said, classic, typical Ned.
Yeah.
What happens, happens. So
It does.
maybe something different would have.
But again, it didn't necessarily need to have happened the way it does. I wonder if hindsight isn't clouding our judgment a little bit, because even after Ned does that, it doesn't necessarily mean that Joffrey had to get in the throne. For example, after he does that, Renly comes up to him.
Ooh,
and
that's
Renly
right.
has this idea. Renly's like, okay, so the king, my brother's dying. We got to act. We know Cersei's going to want to take power. I have some guys. You have some guys. Let's get our guys together. Let's steal Joffrey and the kids away so Cersei won't act. We'll keep them as hostages. We'll put him on the throne, but we'll actually do the ruling. So let's do that. Let's do that. And in that case, that might have averted it because then,
Could have.
So Renly's plan is if we get the kids away, Cersei won't act because she'll be afraid of them being killed, which is probably true because if there's one thing about Cersei that's redeeming is that she doesn't want her kids harmed. They all died anyway, but she doesn't want them harmed. She won't act to harm them. And Ned rejects this advice too by saying, "I will not dishonor Robert's last hours on Earth by shedding blood in his halls and dragging frightened children from their beds." Again, well, I guess I kind of know how you respond to this. Is that the right answer? Because I mean, why wouldn't you not want to drag frightened children from their beds? That sounds horrible.
He's chained to his honor. Like that's the problem with Ned. So I mean, everything that I'm pointing out too is like the opposite of what he would have done. So it's in a perfect world where Ned decides in the 11th hour to play the game as dirty as everybody else wants to play the game, or maybe play it the way it needs to be played. I think he was trying to go about this whole thing differently than would be allowed, because he has this vision of this romanticized good way of doing things. And it was established in all of his other chapters, and it's been established inside of the heads of all these other characters, that this world that Ned is hoping for doesn't exist. At least it doesn't exist now. Maybe it can in the future, but this perfect world where the right guy always makes the right decision, and then that right decision turns out being the thing, isn't real. Because he does make right decisions. That's not a bad decision. But in the context of the world that they live in the context of the rules of the game, it doesn't work. And ultimately, that's why he runs into all these problems. But I'm not saying that protecting the children's a bad thing. I'm saying that maybe Ned would find a different way to go about doing that, a smarter way to do it. But.
Josh Howling on harsh truths. By the way, Juliana has a great comment. Ned's empathy for innocent kids, Daenerys, Rhaego, Cersei's kids, because again, she's right, because he also didn't want to kill Daenerys.
Yep.
He's a child.
Yep.
Comes from his love for an innocent Targaryen child, Jon Snow.
Ooh.
Which is, I think, a very nice insight.
That is good insight.
Ned's giving the benefit of the doubt to kids who don't have any part to play in this, for just innocence. Even Joffrey, to some extent, as big of a dick as he is, at this point at least, hasn't done anything too horrible that we know of. Give him time. I like that. I mean, I want to resist it, but everything makes sense that Ned's chasing a world that just doesn't really exist. And there's the other bigger point is that making the right decision, if you make a decision that makes you feel good in the short term is different than the one that is best for everyone in the long term. Because what Littlefinger suggests is this. He points out to Ned, okay, so Ned, you want to put Stannis on the throne. If you do that, there's going to be war. Because Cersei is going to contest it. So she's not going to take that line down. Yeah. She will support her son. There'll be a war of secession, which there is. That's the War of the Five Kings. And also he points out Stannis is like a harsh guy.
Yeah.
Like Robert forgave all these people who fought against him in Robert's Rebellion. Stannis wouldn't. If he became king, he would go back and execute those people, because that's the kind of guy Stannis is. He's the kind of guy who a good deed doesn't rub out the bad, and a bad deed doesn't rub out the good.
Yeah.
Like, he believes in bringing you to justice.
He's the guy. Grudges.
He holds grudges. He's the guy who, I will let you serve me, Davos. I'm going to cut off your fingers. So he would go back and he would kill all these lords, which would, again, cause more conflict in the realm. So Littlefinger's like, do not put Stannis on. He will be terrible. What you should do, make peace with the Lannisters, put Joffrey on the throne, and then just rule behind the scenes. You are the appointed hand until he comes of age. And if Joffrey's too much, then we'll just reveal that little secession thing. By that time, we'll have taken care of Stannis, and we can come up with a better plan. And again, unsurprisingly, Ned also rejects this. Because, again, it's not the straight line he likes.
It's too skeezy for him. And that's, Littlefinger is a pretty wormy character, but, the plan it's a pretty solid plan.
It's not a bad plan.
It's probably the best plan that could have been proposed. It's kind of laying the weeds behind Joffrey. I mean, ultimately, you do expose yourself to, behind-the-scenes assassination at that point, too, if you're Ned. And then you have to deal with Cersei, which I think he knows is going to be a thing, where she's kind of like a shadow queen to Joffrey's king. But this was ultimately the right decision. This is the one he should have gone with because it bought him the most time. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately what all these people are doing is buying more time before they recognize the right move. That's why Littlefinger stuck around for so long because he was always moving pieces around,
his time, yeah.
making more time for himself. And then eventually his borrowed time ran out. But that's why he was around so long. Viserys does the same thing. Like,
Viserys?
Varys, whatever.
Varys, yeah.
Varys. Viserys.
Viserys is dead. He got golden.
Varys. Varys. He did the same. He does the
The
same
names.
thing, you know. So kind of biding his time, playing in the shadows, making other people make moves, seeing. You know, it's like a minefield, and you're going to have somebody else go out first so they can step on the mine, and then you're like, well, there's not a mine there. I'm going to walk there. That's kind of what Littlefinger does, and this is a good plan. But Ned, because he's chained to his honor, because he's not going to do something that's not the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
He's
Any
not,
like
he's not gonna do it.
deviation from like the straight path he thinks is dishonest.
Yeah.
Karen points out that Ned telling Cersei his plan was pretty dumb because it gave her time to plan, which is totally true. And Juliana says, I think he viewed Cersei as Elia Martell, warning her so that her kids won't live the fates of Rhaenys and Aegon. He didn't want to be a Tywin, even if it was the best choice. Which, yeah, is true. Okay, where was I? Okay. I think everything you said is probably true. It's just unfortunate that it
too
is
bad.
true. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it, but it is.
Well, that's why
And-
Ned wasn't cut to play the game.
Yeah.
Like he's too good for it.
He does have a plan. His plan is gonna seat Stannis, but I'm gonna need some military guys to do it.
Yeah.
My guys are like helping my daughters go back north, which also doesn't work. So he asked Littlefinger, I need you to pay off the gold cloaks, which are like the city watch, the city guardsmen, to support me when I make my statement, my claim against whoever Cersei summons or musters, that's the word. And Littlefinger has a little speech about Ned. You wear your honor like a suit of armor, Stark. You think it keeps you safe, but all it does is wear you down and make it hard for you to move. You know why you summoned me here. You know what you want to ask me to do. You know it has to be done, but it's not honorable, so the words stick in your throat. The thing being, like, a guy like Ned doesn't want to ask, like, could you please pay off these guys so I will have backup? Which is totally true. Ned nails it here. I mean, Littlefinger nails it here.
Yep.
But he does agree, and as we know, he ends up betraying Ned. Because, I mean, frankly, why wouldn't you? After all the mistakes this guy has made, I can see where Littlefinger is coming from.
Well, Littlefinger's very good at looking ahead, looking at the moves, 3 or 4 moves ahead.
Yeah.
So if
That's
the
kind of
writing
a
wasn't
one-move
already on
guy.
the wall for Ned, between Ned and Littlefinger, when Ned didn't go with his plan, which was the best plan, that was the final straw. Because Littlefinger at that point is like, this guy's never going to make the right call, no matter what.
Sure.
Like that was like, to me, of all the decisions of all the bad, decisions that Ned has been able to avoid to keep his honor armor on or whatever.
I like that.
This is probably the one that he could have gone with and still felt like he was still honorable, because he's not overthrowing, he's not killing anybody, he's not double crossing anybody, he's putting Joffrey on the throne.
I mean,
That's kind of dishonoring.
he'd be a lie of omission. He wouldn't be telling people about the incest secret.
Yeah, and of all the other things that
And
he
he'd
could
be
have done
plotting
wrong,
to kill Stannis.
that would have been bad. That will, again, of all the things too that he had to do, I feel like this is the one that he should have gone with. And then Littlefinger, ultimately,
I think
Littlefinger's
Renly's
like,
was probably the most honorable.
well, I don't think Renly's would have worked though.
No?
No,
Maybe not.
but, and I don't know if Littlefinger's would have worked, because maybe Ned would have got bumped off in the background.
He has this great line, Littlefinger, where Ned's like, what you propose is treason. Littlefinger's like, only if we lose.
Exactly. And that's why Littlefinger's like, this guy's never going to be on the right side of me. So like,
Right.
he's never going to do even deviate a little bit from the path to extend his time, or to maybe get to the right decision by taking a little bit of a shortcut. Incest and
Or
killing
like
Stannis
the long
is
way around.
Yeah, he's going to go
It's almost
no
like
way.
Ned wants the short way. Ned wants Stannis is the king because it's the letter of the law. We do that. Like they're all proposing like these plans that have like kind of hidden rooms and little offshoots.
Exactly.
He doesn't like any of that. He's not into it.
Yeah, and Littlefinger knows he's never going to do that, and that, to me, was when that door closed. And Littlefinger was probably the most valuable door that he had there that he didn't know he had, because he stuck around for so long. He knows how to play the game. So
And if Littlefinger can kill off the husband of the woman he loves while he's at it, sure,
bonus points.
let's do that. Okay, so it was an intense chapter.
It was.
When you look at it this way, it's like it could be like the chapter could be called Eddard XIII, 3 Bad Decisions. But again, the trick of the book is they don't seem like bad decisions in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would. Maybe they would to people reading for the first time. I kind of doubt it. Yeah, I can't know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
None of us can know. What did you think when you read them for the first time? All right. I also want to give a brief shout out to Martin for the sheer number of minor characters and names who have like one line or no lines but are mentioned. What'd you think of Tomard, Kane, King Robert Stewart, Sir Boros Blunt, Sir Preston Greenfield, Sir Robar Royce, Porther, Desmond, Bronze Jan Royce, Sir Balin Swan, the Redwine Twins, and Lady Tonda Stokeworth? What is being like tossed in there, sprinkled
Right.
in there?
The Redwine Twins were my favorite.
Some of them do come up, some of these people do. I mean, they don't play major roles, but they
Yeah.
do become like supporting characters.
Populating the background.
As just a moment of appreciation for how much names Martin has to come up with just to fill this out. I figure that would like be like just hours poring over like just writing syllables and pairing them together and seeing if anything sounds okay.
The Redwine Twins, I don't feel like he spent a lot of time coming up with that one.
The Redwine Twins? No. I believe that's Lady Olenna's original family. I think she's Olenna Redwine.
Oh.
It's her like maiden name. Whatever. Next week we can go back to 2.
All right.
I believe we have a John chapter.
All right.
And of course, another Ned chapter, not mistaken. Yes, another Ned chapter. So, John and Ned. Oh, what a day on Take the Black Live. We did a giveaway. Good luck to everybody who entered the giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
We say goodbye to Kayla Kaniram. Another great edition of Song of Dan and Josh. We'll be back next week with all of that.
Indeed.
Next week at Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time here on the Winners Queen Facebook page. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Good night.